This happened to me. I was 19 years old and living in an apartment with my parents. It was a typical day. My dad was working his usual job, my mom was at home doing her usual things, and I was playing games in my room. Suddenly, my mom knocked on my door and told me that she needed me to run down to the basement and get some stuff out of the basement for her. I agreed and went down the stairs. Our basement wasn't the cleanest place. It was more of a storage space filled with boxes, shelves, tools, and other miscellaneous items. There were also some spiders' webs hanging from the ceiling, but none of this bothered me. As I walked further into the basement, I began to hear what sounded like footsteps. I didn't think much of it and continued on until I saw my mom standing next to a shelf, inspecting something. "What do you need?" I asked. "Oh, these," she said, pointing to an old box filled with children's clothes. "I need to take these up to the attic. Would you mind bringing them up there for me?" I opened the box. The clothes smelled faintly of lavender, even though they were clearly very old. I carried the box up the stairs. As I reached the top, I could have sworn that I heard a small voice behind me saying, "Don't bring me upstairs." But when I turned around, I saw no one. Maybe it was just my imagination, I thought. So I walked away. That night, however, the voice came back. I was laying in bed trying to sleep when I heard what sounded like a small girl crying. I sat up in bed and listened. Was that really a child crying? The crying seemed to be coming from downstairs. I got out of bed and slowly made my way down the stairs. As I approached the bottom, I could have sworn I heard the sound of footsteps once again. But when I turned on the lights and searched around, there was no one there. This continued every single night. Every night at around 3 a.m., I would hear footsteps, a small voice, and sometimes even the sound of a child crying. I told my parents about it, but they just thought I was making it all up. "You're probably just overworking yourself at your job, Marcus," my dad said. "Your brain is probably playing tricks on you." My mom nodded in agreement. They didn't believe me, so I decided to stay up one night to try to catch whatever was making these sounds. It took a while, but at around 2:57 a.m., I started hearing the familiar sound of footsteps. I grabbed my phone and followed the noise to the basement. Once again, there was nothing there. Just as I turned the corner, though, I saw a faint light shining from under a door at the end of the basement. This door had always been locked and was used to store less frequently used items. My curiosity got the best of me, so I crept closer to the door and tried to open it. It was locked tight, but when I looked more closely, I saw that the lock had been broken. Suddenly, the basement lights turned on, revealing a girl in a Victorian nightgown standing in front of me. She was only about 4 or 5 feet tall and looked to be no older than 8 or 9. Her face was pale and her eyes were a deep red color. "Who are you?" I asked, backing away slowly. "Why are you here?" Instead of answering, the girl began to walk towards me. I screamed and ran out of the basement. I ran back to my room and hid under my blankets until morning. When I told my parents what I saw, they were shocked. We had never had anyone over or had any guests, so how did this girl get inside? And why was she in our basement? To this day, we still don't know who she is. But what we do know is that she haunts our basement and is somehow connected to the house itself. Now, on to a new story. One day I went out into the woods near my house. I decided to go off the beaten path and see where it would lead me. Eventually, I came across a clearing and noticed a large tree in the center. Its branches were twisted and gnarled, and its leaves were a sickly yellow color. As I walked closer, I could have sworn that I heard a voice whispering my name. I stopped in my tracks and listened, but there was nothing but the sound of the wind. I must have imagined it, I thought. So I walked up to the tree and sat down on a nearby log. As I leaned back against the tree, I could have sworn that I felt something brush against my leg. I jumped and turned to see nothing but leaves and dirt. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Just then, I heard a voice. "Leave now." I turned around to see an old woman standing in front of me. Her eyes were filled with anger, and she had a strange necklace made of bones around her neck. "What?" I asked. "What did you say?" The old woman repeated herself. "Leave now before it's too late." I stood up and backed away slowly. "Who are you?" I asked. "Why should I listen to you?" The old woman took a step towards me, and her eyes flashed with anger. "You should leave because I am the guardian of these woods," she said, "and you are not welcome here." I stared at her for a moment, unsure of what to say. I had never seen anyone so angry and powerful. Finally, I spoke up. "I'm sorry, but I won't leave without my dog." The old woman's eyes narrowed. "You brought a dog into the woods?" she asked. Yes, I did, I replied. And I won't leave without him. The old woman shook her head. You humans are so selfish, she said. You come into my woods and destroy everything in sight. You don't care about the animals or the plants. All you care about is yourselves. I knew that she was right. Too many people enter the woods every year and cause damage. I felt bad for how I had acted. I'm sorry, I said. I didn't know. The old woman looked at me for a moment. You can stay, she finally said. But I warn you, the woods are dangerous. I thanked her and turned to leave. As I walked away, I could have sworn that I heard her whisper something to herself. Foolish human, she said. He thinks he can outsmart me. I ignored her and kept walking. As I walked deeper into the woods, I could feel the old woman's eyes burning into my back. I quickened my pace and eventually found my way back to the car. I got in and drove home. Now, whenever I tell people about the old woman in the woods, they always think I'm crazy. But I know what I saw, and I will never go back to those woods again. That's one scary story. And if you want to hear another one, click the video on screen now. Thanks for watching.